OK, with me now, one of our political correspondents, Charlotte Potts, for more on all this. Charlotte, first of all, this kind of hate speech via social networks, via social media, is that just part of the course, part of being a politician in Germany? Are they just expected to have to bear more than normal citizens bear?
Well, of course, it's in your job description. You should engage in controversial debates. But I think what we've been observing over the past years is if there is a political crisis, hate speech gets more and more, and it comes to a point where it's unbearable for politicians. For example, we are seeing it with politicians of Turkish-German descent in the current atmosphere between Turkey and Germany. And we're not talking about insults anymore, but we are talking about death threats, and nobody should have to deal with that online.
That's right. The leader of the Greens, Cem Özdemir, is another victim of that. Stay with us for a second, Charlotte. What we're going to do now is just have a look at that new law that Germany has passed to regulate against online speech, to stop online speech. We're going to take a look at some of the provisions in this law. It essentially creates a uniform system of rules that social media networks have to respect with reference to reported hate speech. And the law requires companies to delete reported hate postings within 24 hours if the content is unmistakably illegal. Within 24 hours, they have to do that. They also have to review other flagged content within 7 days. Companies also required to set up an office here in Germany that deals specifically with user complaints about hate speech. If you fail to stick to these new regulations, the fine can go as high as 50 million euros. OK, back to Charlotte at the table. So those are the details, Charlotte, of that law that has just been passed in Germany, a hotly debated law. Just bring us up to speed again with the criticisms that have been made of these new regulations.
So criticisms came from all sides, journalists, politicians, IT experts. One of the big criticisms is the question, who is responsible to judge on hate speech? And with this new law, basically, now the companies can judge on what is hate speech. So in a way, you're privatizing this, giving the responsibility to the companies and away from the court and the state.
So it's not a court of law, it's the company that it's actually putting it out.
Exactly. So that's one big issue. Should they be judging on that? And another big issue is freedom of expression. You know, it's a fundamental law here in Germany, freedom of expression. And basically, the question now is that companies will be allowed to flag illegal content. And you were talking about the fines, 50 million, that's a lot. So people are expecting that the companies will basically over-judge and over-erase content, possibly illegal content, and that will put a strain on freedom of speech. So on the one hand, this privatization issue away from the court. On the other hand, the fear of over-blocking content.
So essentially, this is about getting the balance right between freedom of expression on one hand and hate speech, or rather preventing hate speech. Just briefly, has the German government got that balance right?
I don't think so. I think there is much more to do. I mean, on the one hand, it puts more pressure on the companies such as Facebook and Twitter to actually look at the content. They'll probably do that with algorithms. So a good step in that direction. But on the other hand, much more has to be done. The courts have to act quicker, for example. There should be a police presence online, actually, police looking through the content. So a lot more could be done, I think, to get this right.
OK, Charlotte Potts, many thanks.
Thank you.